The cabin of Flight 482 hummed with the usual low chatter, the metallic scent of jet fuel and recycled air lingering faintly as passengers settled into their seats. Jamal Parker gripped his son Malik's hand, trying to soothe his nerves, unaware that within moments, a single act of injustice would ignite a storm that no one aboard the plane would forget. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. Flight attendant, her face tight with impatience, approached the young boy after a minor disagreement about seating. Words were exchanged sharp, dismissive, and cutting. Then, in a motion that froze the air, she slapped Malik across the face. Shock rippled through the cabin like an electric current. Gasps erupted from neighboring passengers. Some grabbed their phones. Others clutched their hands to their mouths. Fear, disbelief, and anger collided in that narrow, pressurized space. Jamal's heart raced. His mind spun with disbelief, panic, and an instinctive protective rage. But beneath it all, a deeper calm anchored him, a power he had spent years mastering. One that few could comprehend, fewer still could challenge. The moral tension weighed heavily. Act with restraint or risk escalation. Protect his son or ignite chaos. Malik's tears burned down his cheeks, his small body trembling. Jamal knelt beside him, whispering words of comfort. He could feel the simmering tension from surrounding passengers, their murmurs blending into a low, anxious hum. Eyes darted toward him, some wide with fear, others with curiosity. All watched as this father-child moment became a crucible of courage and moral confrontation. The flight attendant, confident in her perceived authority, straightened her posture, unaware that the man before her was far from ordinary. Jamal's gaze was calm but piercing, a silent warning that power does not always announce itself loudly. He could see the cracks forming in her facade, the faint flicker of doubt as he slowly stood. Keeping his movements deliberate, measured, air trembled with anticipation. Even the engine seemed to hum louder, as if the plane itself sensed the tension within its cabin. Passengers leaned forward, some whispering, some holding hands with loved ones, others frozen in silent dread. The atmosphere was thick, electric, and impossible to ignore. Then came the moment of revelation. Jamal raised his hands, not in violence, but in a subtle display of control. His voice, calm yet commanding, resonated through the cabin. This ends now. The true danger isn't my son, and it isn't me. It's the injustice you've been perpetuating. The flight attendant froze. Shock and confusion crossed her face. Passengers watched, spellbound, as Jamal's presence transformed the air. No physical confrontation was needed. The weight of his experience, the gravity of his moral authority, and the unmistakable aura of someone trained to protect and confront threats held the room captive. Murmurs spread. Phones were raised, eyes widened. People sensed the unspoken history, the power hidden in restraint and disciplined courage. The moral tension hit its peak. Who was really in control, and who would face the consequences of their choices? Jamal didn't act rashly. Instead, he revealed what the flight attendant hadn't anticipated: his background as a tactical security expert, trained in de-escalation, crisis management, and defense. He had handled emergencies that would terrify ordinary people, situations requiring a mind sharper than any weapon. The cabin shifted, the perception of threat reversed. The aggressor became the observed. The man who had seemed silent and ordinary became the axis upon which the situation turned. The flight attendant's hand shook slightly, a subtle crack in her overconfidence. Jamal's voice softened, firm but compassionate. Mistreatment has consequences. You can choose accountability or chaos. The choice is yours. Time stretched. Passengers held their breath, the tension palpable. Then, in a gesture that felt almost ceremonial, Jamal guided Malik closer, protecting him with a calm posture that radiated authority and empathy. The crowd exhaled collectively, some quietly applauding, others simply staring in awe. The revelation was complete. The true power in the cabin was not in fear, aggression, or badges. It was in courage, preparation, and moral clarity. Jamal had confronted the injustice, safeguarded his child, and forced accountability, all without a single strike. The moral resolution landed with full emotional weight, leaving the aggressor stunned and the passengers inspired. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. As the flight continued, the atmosphere shifted from tension to reflection. People whispered about the father and son, about restraint and power, about justice manifesting in unexpected ways. Malik clung to his father, tears drying, eyes wide with understanding, witnessing a masterclass in courage and integrity. Jamal understood the lesson too. Strength is not loud. True power is measured by patience, by moral certainty, and by the ability to act decisively when the moment demands it. The incident would be recounted for years, not for the slap itself, but for the calm, strategic, inhuman way in which the situation was resolved. The cabin lights flickered softly. The engines hum, a steady reminder that life moves forward, even after moments that feel monumental. Jamal held Malik's hand, looking out the small window at the stars streaking by in silent tribute to resilience, justice, and courage. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. Subscribe for more cinematic, suspenseful, and empowering faceless storytelling from Cinematic Whispers. And remember, your voice matters.